Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Hearthstone. Today, we will be reviewing the class cards from DRUID in Hearthstone's upcoming expansion, the Boomsday project. So without further ado, let's jump right in. I'll be rating cards in a special system. One based off their theoretical value, how good they are in theory, as well as their expected popularity value, how much they will see play in the upcoming expansion. All ratings will be given out of a score of 5. The theoretical value will be highlighted in red, while the popularity value will be highlighted in yellow. So let's jump right into our first card. Alright, so the first card that DRUIDs will be receiving is Biology Project. So projects is actually one of the main themes of the expansion right now, where each player seemingly gains a symmetrical effect. However, I feel that in this case, it's actually not a symmetrical effect because DRUIDs focus a lot on the late game decks. So Taunt Druid is now a tier 1 deck and it is a late game deck, and I feel that this card fits right into that deck. So Taunt Druid has the weakness of facing aggressive decks, especially if they have a bad starting hand. So in this case, Biology Project gains each player 2 mana crystals. Therefore, this card actually skips the early game for the aggressive deck. So it reduces the amount of time they have to kill you before you progress into the late game where you start to stabilize. So for example, you can play something like Malfurion to stabilize. Because you ramp up faster, you can play Malfurion faster. Therefore, I feel that this card has a theoretical value and a popularity value of 5 out of 5. So yeah, I rate this card actually quite highly because I feel that it will see play and you'll replace some cards in the existing Taunt Druid, which is tier 1. Alright, the next card that DRUIDs will be receiving is the Dendrologist. Dendrologist is a 2 mana 2/3 minion battlecry. If you control a Treant, discover a spell. So DRUIDs currently have the Treant theme as of this expansion. This card is actually comparable to a mage minion, which is called Arcanologist. Arcanologist is a 2 mana 2/3 minion which says battlecry, draw a secret from a deck. However, I feel that compared to Arcanologist, this card is much more restrictive because you actually have to control a Treant, not just any minion, you have to control specifically a Treant in order for the battlecry to work. Additionally, you discover a spell instead of drawing a specific card from a deck. And we all know how good Arcanologist was. It was an unconditional draw a card from a deck, and it's a specific card from a deck. So usually cards that you put into your deck, you put it there for a reason. It's because it's better than discovering a random spell. So I'll say that the card gained from Arcanologist will be strictly better than the one you gain from Dendrologist. Therefore, I don't see this card being very useful, mainly because it's very restrictive and its battlecry is not as powerful as Arcanologist. Therefore, I give it a theoretical value of 3 out of 5 because yes, it is better than the Crocolis. However, I feel that it just breaks even in terms of value. In terms of its viability, I give it a 1 out of 5. I don't think that Dendrologist will see much play in the upcoming expansion, simply because of its restrictive nature and its weak battlecry. So yep, that's Dendrologist. Alright, the next card that we will be reviewing is the Dream Petal Florist. So Dream Petal Florist is a 7 mana 4/4. At the end of your turn, reduce the cost of a random minion in your hand by 7. So this obviously it looks to be a very big threat to the enemy, and it is a very big threat because reducing a random minion in your hand the cost by 7 is actually a very big deal. So this card when played, it's basically a 0 mana 4/4, you can think of it that way. However, it is quite restrictive in nature. It's because for this Dream Petal Florist to gain the full value, you have to hit a minion of at least a 7 cost. So DRUIDs right now, they run taunt minions, they run big minions. However, those minions are usually quite cheap. The biggest minion you're gonna run is Lich King as well as your Hadronox. So Dream Petal Florist, I would say that with a handful of taunts, it will be quite unlikely for you to hit the Lich King or Hadronox specifically. So this is where Dream Petal Florist comes in very restrictive. However, it is a very big threat. However, the threat is quite easily negated. The opponent just has to I don't know, put a fireball, put a swipe or something, and Dream Petal Florist is basically gone. So I would say that it's basically a I would say it's like a Taurusan. So in Taurusan's case, it discounts all your cards by 1. However, in this case, it discounts a specific card by 7. However, it has the potential to not gain its full value. So I'd say that Dream Petal Florist, I don't think you'll see much play. However, I think its theoretical value is a 4 out of 5 because a 0 mana 4/4 is a pretty good minion. However, in the upcoming expansion, where I think that Taunt Druid would continue to be viable, I would think that Dream Petal Florist wouldn't see play in that deck. So yep, that's why I'm rating it a 1 out of 5 because I feel that its effect is very restrictive in Taunt Druid. Additionally, it itself is not a Taunt Druid, it's not a Taunt minion. So in Taunt Druid, you usually be playing Taunt minions and very good Taunt minions. I don't think you want to replace any of those Taunt minions with a 7 mana 4/4. This is why I don't think Dream Petal Florist will be very relevant in the upcoming expansion. Alright, the next card that Druids will be receiving is the Forbiddener's Flute. Forbiddener's Flute is a 4-cost minion that has a stat line of 3/4, and as the text, while this card is in your hand, this is a 3/4 copy of the last minion that you played. I'll be looking at this card specifically in the case of Taunt Druids because I feel that Taunt Druids will be the only archetype of Druids that exists in the next expansion. I don't feel that the Treant Druid will really work out because of the weak quality of cards that's been printed. So one could compare this card with Faceless Manipulator. Faceless Manipulator is a 5-cost that can also copy a minion. So this minion doesn't necessarily have to be a friendly minion, it can be an enemy minion. So for the 1 additional mana cost, you're getting so much more stats and so much more utility out of the Faceless Manipulator. So Forbiddener's Flute on paper should lose out to Faceless Manipulator. However, I feel that this isn't actually a very fair comparison. This is because number 1, in Taunt Druid, what you're looking to play Forbiddener's Flute into is most likely your Hadronox. This is the case where your Hadronox gets silenced or polymorphed. In that case, you can play Forbiddener's Flute straight after that, in which case you can play another Hadronox. So it's a second chance of winning with the Forbiddener's Flute. So something like a Faceless Manipulator cannot do that because you're just gonna be copying a sheep, or you're just gonna be copying a silenced Hadronox, which is really not the point here. Additionally, in Taunt Druid, you don't mind your Hadronox being a 3/4 instead of its original stat line, so it's really not a problem there. Additionally, let's say your Hadronox gets killed and then you summon a board full of taunts. Let's say that board gets killed as well. You can play Forbiddener's Flute immediately after. So instead, so let me look at a Faceless Manipulator. So in the case of Faceless Manipulator, you cannot play it, let's say for Faceless Manipulator, you have to play it while Hadronox is on the board. However, with Forbiddener's Flute, even though your Hadronox is killed and your board of taunts is killed, you can play Forbiddener's Flute as a Hadronox, even though your Hadronox has already died. So this card actually has a lot more flexibility than a Faceless Manipulator. So I rate this card quite highly in Taunt Druid. I feel that it's a natural fit in the current Taunt Druid decks, and some cards over there will get replaced with the Forbiddener's Flute. Therefore, I'll give it a theoretical value of 5 out of 5 and a popularity value of 5 out of 5 as well, because I feel that this is a natural fit in the Taunt Druid archetype, and I feel that it will appear in the next expansion. So the next card that Druids will be receiving is Floop's Glorious Gloop. It's a 1 mana legendary spell for Druid. So legendary spells are actually part of the theme of the Boomsday project, and they usually give a very good value, or they actually give a very powerful effect. In the case of Druid, I would say that this is more of a value spell. So this card text actually says, whenever a minion dies this turn, gain 1 mana crystal this turn only. So basically, you're looking to play this card as in the worst case scenario, it's a 1 mana gain 2 mana crystals this turn. So you're looking to at least kill off 2 minions this turn. So you could kill off 3, 4, 5, 6, and you gain mana crystals according to how much minions you've killed this turn. Do note that the minions do not necessarily have to be friendly, they can be both friendly and enemy minions. So let me go ahead and rate this card. So this card will most likely exist in a token druid deck The reason being that in the case of, let's say, Hadronox Druid, you're not looking to kill off a lot of enemy minions at once. This because Druids traditionally lacks a board clear, so you cannot clear a lot of enemy minions in one singular turn because of Druid's innate inability to clear a board of minions. Additionally, you yourself as a Taunt Druid, you're not gonna have a lot of minions to sacrifice as well for Floop's Glorious Group. So in Taunt Druid, this card will not see play. So let's look at the case of Token Druids. So the Token Druid deck that will probably not see play in the next expansion will be the Treant Druid. So Treant Druid, let's say you have a board of Druids, you have a board of Treants, and you want to make use of this Floop's Glorious Group to trade into other minions so that you can gain more mana crystals. However, I feel that in the case of where you have a very wide board, it'll be more advisable for you to just Savage Roar and go for the face instead of gaining mana crystals. I mean, what's the point? Let's say you have five Treants on the board, you can just Savage Roar and hit the face. So let's say you don't have Savage Roar and you try to trade the minions one by one into other enemy minions. Number one, the enemy minions most likely will not die because a Treant is actually a very small minion. It's only a 2/2, so enemy minions might not necessarily die. Plus, you're actually killing off your own board. For a Token Druid, that's actually a really bad decision because you really want a wide board for yourself to a Savage Roar. So I feel that Floop's Glorious Group it fits into Token Druid decks. However, I feel that Token Druid decks currently do not exist. I don't feel that the Treant Druid will become a very powerful archetype, at least for this expansion. However, I feel that this Floop's Glorious Group spell does have the potential in future expansions or even in WoW to for it to gain quite some value. Therefore, I feel that its theoretical value is 5 out of 5. However, for the upcoming expansion, I see its popularity value as 1 out of 5 because this card I feel fits exclusively into the Token Treant deck, in which case I feel that it will not see play much. Therefore, I'm rating it a 1 out of 5. Alright, so the next card that Druids will be receiving is the Gloop Sprayer. So Gloop Sprayer is a 8 mana 4/4 battle cry. Summon a copy of each adjacent minion. I feel that this card in the next expansion is actually not gonna be very useful because you are actually trying to hit very big minions with this Gloop Sprayer. So you don't just have to hit one big minion, you have to hit 2 big minions in order for you to gain the full effect of this Gloop Sprayer. In most scenarios, when you have 2 big minions on the board, you most likely have already won. So I don't see this card being good in Taunt Druid decks because I mean you're not really looking to copy your Hadronox. Yes, you're looking to copy your Lich King, but I feel that Gloop Spraying your Lich King in that deck is a bit much, especially when you can bring back your Lich King via Hadronox. In that Token Treant deck I talked about earlier, this deck is most likely not gonna fit in there as well because summon 2 Treants for 8 mana is not really that good. So this card is neither here nor there. One could argue that it's fit in some OTK sort of a Druid deck. However, I feel that the 8 cost is actually quite inflexible for it to be played in a OTK Druid deck. And additionally, you already have you must have 2 combo pieces out on the field, which is pretty hard to do already. So I feel that Gloop Sprayer will not really see play in the upcoming expansion. However, since it does have a potential to give immense amount of value, I'm rating its theoretical value in 5 out of 5. However, it's neither a here nor there card, that's why I'm giving it a popularity value of 1 out of 5. The next card that Druids will be receiving is the Juicy Side Melon. So personally, when this card was printed, I feel that this is one of my favorite cards for the upcoming expansion. 4 mana, draw a total of 4 cards from a deck. And the beauty of this card is that it draws 4 very specific cards from a deck. It's a 7, 8, 9 and 10 cost from a deck. So the reason why I personally like this card a lot is because in WoW I actually play Cartoon Druid. So Cartoon Druid actually hits a lot of those criteria for this deck. So for example, you put in the Aviana Kun Cartoon combo, so you'll be drawing your Cartoon because it's a 10 cost, you'll be drawing your Aviana, it's a 9 cost, or you'll be drawing a Kun, which is also a 10 cost. So I feel that this Juicy Side Melon really helps you draw specific combos for a OTK Druid deck for WoW. However, okay, another WoW combination that people have thought of is the Azalina Soul Priest King Top Waggle Aviana combo, Aviana Kun combo. So basically, it's a 7, 8, 9 and 10 cost card if I'm not wrong. So you actually play this card, draw those 4 combos, wait until turn 10 and then you play your combo, in which you end your opponent by giving them a really bad deck. So yeah, so and you copy the trading spell that Top Waggle gives you. However, I feel that this card, unfortunately, it is only very good in WoW. In Standard, it's not a very good card. Yes, a 4 mana draw 4 cards. It's a very good value card for Druid. However, I feel that there's a card called Ultimate Infestation. So Juicy Side Melon would obviously lose out to Ultimate Infestation, because Ultimate Infestation is just so much value combined into one card. And additionally, Juicy Side Melon, let's say you play on turn 4, you draw a 7, 8, 9 and 10 cost minion from your deck, in which case they're gonna be dead cards for the next few turns. Additionally, Ultimate Infestation gains you armor, it summons you a minion, and it draws you 5 cards obviously. So it's a much better card than the Juicy Side Melon. However, it's not to say that the Juicy Side Melon is not a good value card. It is still a very good value card. Therefore, I rate it a theoretical value of 5 out of 5. Since 4 mana draw 4 cards is absolutely insane. For Rogues as a card which draws you 4 cards as well, it's called Sprint, it's costed at 7. Juicy Side Melon is only costed at 4. So I feel that that's where it wins in value. However, I think in theory, you're not actually gonna get much use out of Juicy Side Melon. Taunt Druid decks don't mind waiting a few extra turns for their late game, especially when they have already stabilized. Let's say in turn 7, turn 8, they don't mind waiting a few extra turns. Since they already got Malfurion out, they have already stabilized against mid-range to aggressive decks. They're not really looking to draw Hadronox so soon, or at least they don't really need to. Therefore, I don't think that this card will end up replacing any cards in the Taunt Druid deck, which is why I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 5. I think that this card might see play in Taunt Druid. Okay, maybe 1 out of 5 is a bit harsh. I'll bump it up to a 2 out of 5, since I feel that it's a bit harsh. I feel that I mean it might be my personal bias over here, but I feel that Juicy Side Melon might see play in Taunt Druid for you to draw your Hadronox and maybe a few Primordial Drakes and your Lich King, maybe. So yep, so it's a 5 out of 5 and a 2 out of 5 instead of a 1 out of 5. So I should be going over the last 3 cards very quickly because they are all Treant related, and personally I don't feel that Treant related cards are gonna do very well in the upcoming expansion. So the first Treant related card will be Landscaping. 3 mana summon 2 Treants, so it's a combined stat value of a 4/4. However, I feel that a Treant Druid would not be viable. I explained earlier why. It's because it's very restrictive, the effects are not that powerful. So I see this card as a vanilla 3 mana 4/4 worth of stats. This card has been printed in the Hepnir Frost Rider, I believe. However, it doesn't have the downside. So therefore, in terms of value, I give it a 4 out of 5. However, it is after all a fair card. And in Constructed, you're not looking to put in fair cards into your deck. You're looking to put in powerful, over-the-top crazy cards. So I don't see this card being played in the Standard meta, which is why it's a 1 out of 5. However, in Arena, it could have potential. So the next card would be, going over very quickly, the next card would be Mulch Muncher. So Mulch Muncher is actually a sort of a giant effect. So that, for example, all giants, let's say Frost Giant, Sea Giant, all these cards actually reduce their cost if you do something specific. So in the case of Mulch Muncher, it actually costs 1 less for each friendly treant that died this game. So I feel that for it to justify its value, it has actually got to be reduced by a cost of at least, I don't know, 3. A 7 mana 8/8 rush is fair. I think it's comparable to the Charged Devil Saw, I feel. So it has to at least 3 Treants have to die beforehand, which is, I mean, it's a very viable thing to do. However, I feel that the number of Treant cards printed are very small, and additionally, the Treant cards that has been printed are generally very weak. However, I see Mox Muncher as one of the stronger cards to include because of its rush tag. However, even then, it is only a fair card. So I'll put Mox Muncher at a theoretical value of 3 out of 5 because most of the time it's gonna be playing a, I don't know, a 6 mana 8/8 rush, which is okay. And definitely for its expected value is gonna be 1 out of 5 because I don't see Treant Druid becoming a thing, at least for this expansion. The last card again is Treant related. It will be the Tending Torrent. Tending Torrent is 6 mana 3/4 worth of stats. 3/4 worth of stats is generally costed at 3 mana, so the effect has to be around 3 mana for it to be justified. So give your other minions +1/+1. This is a terrible option. Do not pick this option because it's basically a Mark of the Lotus, and that card is only costed at 1. Or summon 2 2/2 Treants. So 2/2 Treants, as we've analysed just now, is worth 3 mana. So it just breaks even according to the previous card, which is Landscaping. So this card is basically a spider tank combined with Landscaping for a 6 mana worth 6 mana card. However, I feel that this card is only a fair card, which is why I'm giving it a theoretical value of 3 out of 5. It just breaks even, and of course its expected value is gonna be 1 out of 5 because I don't see Treant Druid becoming a thing. All of the Treant effects are generally very weak. This card is a perfect example. It's a fair card only, combining a 4-cost card, a 3-cost card to a 3-cost minion, giving you a 6-cost minion. If this card was costed at like 5 or 4, I think I would rate it higher, but as of now, I don't think this card will see much play. So that's all the cards that Druids will be receiving. So in conclusion, I feel that Taunt Druid will be the only Druid archetype that will persevere on into the next expansion, the Boomsday project. So let me know if you feel that any of my card ratings are wrong. So this is the end of the video, guys, and I hope you enjoy it. So I hope to see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.